So let's go ahead and talk about 30, 60, 90 degree triangles. So this is another special right triangle, one of the ones where we kind of memorize the different values. And you can see here that the key in this case is the one that's opposite the 30 degree angle there. Everything is in terms of b, so if we know the value of b, well, we can find everything else. So let's look at an example and see how we can use this. So I'm going to use the same strategy that if you watch my 45, 45, 90 triangle video, I'm going to use that same strategy here. And so first off, I'll start with the 30 degree angle. And I know that's opposite of, I'm using the variable b in this case. I notice there aren't any b's being used, so that should be pretty easy. And then opposite the 60 degree angle, whatever b, the value of b ends up being is just b times the square root of 3. And lastly, whatever is opposite, and I forgot to put it in here, but this is meant to be a right triangle. Whatever's opposite the right angle has a value of 2b. And so the key to all of this is to figure out the value of the key, b. And so in this case, we already do know that b is just equal to 5. And so anywhere I see a b, I can just replace it with 5. And so I find that the value of y is in fact just 5 times the square root of 3. And the value of of x is just 2 times b, which is of course just 10. Now let's go ahead and look at a slightly more complicated example. I threw a little monkey wrench into this one. I noticed that I was using b as my variable for my template here. And if you notice, I did the same thing here. I have a b, but it's in a different location. So what I'm going to do is just use a different variable. So instead of b for all of my variables here, I'm just going to use x. There's no x in this. So the key, the one opposite 30 degrees, is going to be x in this case. So I know that a is just going to equal x. And then the one opposite 60 degrees, which I do know that this is 60 degrees here. 30 degrees plus 90 degrees is 120. I need another 60 degrees to make it a total of 180. So this 7 here is opposite the 60 degrees. I'm going to write x times the square root of 3, the key times the square root of 3. And lastly, opposite the 90 degree angle, I have 2 times the key. So 2 times x in this case. All right, and from there, I'm just looking for a relationship where I can solve. So unfortunately, both this a equals x, that's not going to get me anywhere. B equals 2x isn't going to get me anywhere. What is going to get me somewhere is this equation right here. I have x times the square root of 3 equals 7. I can divide by the square root of 3 on both sides, and I'm left with, well, that's 1 times x, so just x equals 7 over the square root of 3. I did illustrate in the other video how to rationalize the denominator here. Again, I don't really care. In fact, there are some reasons not to, but if you want to rationalize it, square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is just going to give us 3. And then I need to multiply the top by square root of 3 as well, because that'll equal 1. And we get square root of 7 times the square root of 3 for x. So now that I have the value of x, I can plug it in here. I know that a is just equal to 7 times the square root of 3 over 3. And I can find b as well. B is just going to equal 2, and I'll write it as 2 over 1 times 7 times the square root of 3 over 3. So I get 14 times the square root of 3 over 3. And I found a and b for this example, so I am now done.